play Nier. Is Nier gonna have the answers for me?
Now pull your head out of your and start helping us!
You know what? I think I'm good. So, yeah, I played Nier. Now, I didn't play Nier for no reason, though. I recently watched all of Steven Spielberg's movies with my friend, and one of his films confused me more than any other. AI, Artificial Intelligence. As the title implies, it's got a bunch of robots in it. They're pretty important, but the ending is weird. And instead of turning to interviews or think pieces or anything like that, I decided there's only one logical thing to do. Watch more media with robots. I settled on Nier Automata not only because of the bit, but also because there's a surprising amount of overlap between the two. Full spoilers for AI Artificial Intelligence, Nier Automata, as well as the original Nier game up ahead. AI Artificial Intelligence was directed by Steven Spielberg and released in 2001, but started life as a Stanley Kubrick project. Kubrick passed before technology caught up with his vision for the film. One thing Kubrick was insistent on was that no one could play the lead, a robot boy. However, he never saw The Sixth Sense, like Steven Spielberg did, who promptly casted Haley Joel Osment for the role. The film follows Osment's character David, as he is purchased by a family soon after their son goes into a coma. David is the first series of models designed to truly emulate human love, and after the wife of the family, Monica, activates this feature, he imprints on her, and his concept of love is more like obsession. She treats him as she would her own son, reading him bedtime stories, most importantly, The Adventures of Pinocchio. Miraculously, their actual son recovers and comes back to the house. It becomes very clear very quickly that David and the son cannot get along, and so Monica has to return David back to the factory that she got him from. She can't bring herself to do it though, so she actually sets him loose just outside of the factory, where he stumbles on a bunch of people that like to take robots and destroy them for their own amusement. When they see David pleading for his life, they take pity on him and let him go. He meets Gigolo Joe, a companion robot who watches over David. Remembering the story of Pinocchio, David decides that maybe the Blue Fairy will be able to turn him into a real boy. While in Rogue City, they get a lead that the Blue Fairy is in Manhattan. However, all they find in Manhattan is David's original creator, along with a bunch of other Davids that are ready to be sold. David, overwhelmed by this reveal, jumps out the window, hurling towards the ocean, where he finds the statue of the Blue Fairy. He's rescued, but unable to escape, leaving him there, staring at the statue of the Blue Fairy, wishing to be a real boy. He wishes for 2,000 years down there. Eventually, in 4000 something AD, he is found by robots so advanced that they look like aliens. They're amazed to find a robot that was actually made by humans and not other robots. They're enamored with his experiences in the real world, but all David wants is to see Monica again, to be her son. The robots tell him that they have discovered a way to bring people back to life, but it's only for a day, and even if they find a way to make it permanent, they still can't bring them back. David chooses to bring Monica back anyway. They have one idyllic, saccharine, almost fake day together, where David gets to play house with Monica. At the end, they get into bed together, and the movie ends. Yeah, this film is dark. And while it's clearly some kind of Pinocchio story, I hope you'll forgive me for not 100% getting it. Now, like I said, I could totally watch interviews, or rewatch the film, or look up think pieces, but that's less fun, and it doesn't let me analyze the second half of this essay, Nier Automata. Nier Automata is a 2017 post-apocalyptic action game. It's the sequel to 2010's Nier, taking place 8,000 years after that game, in the year 11,495. Automata follows two androids, named 2B and 9S, as they fight the alien forces on Earth to defend the colony of humans living on the moon, waiting for the aliens to be wiped out so it can be safe to come home. The aliens themselves are using more simple machines to do the fighting for them. During the course of the game, you meet robots that act human and have human desires, like one that is so obsessed with the human concept of beauty, so much so that she'll consume machines and androids in a vain attempt to gain beauty, all to impress another machine that will never love her. You also meet machines that have broken themselves from the hive mind and live peacefully on Earth, removed from the android-machine war. In the world of Nier, there was a terrible disease that threatened to ravage humanity. Not to get too in the weeds on this, because it's kind of confusing and not totally relevant to my point, but just know that to achieve this, they developed a way to separate the human body from the human soul, with the idea of reuniting them as soon as the disease was eradicated. In Nier Automata, you find out that this plan failed, and there are no humans on the moon. There is, however, a databank of a small portion of human souls, called replicants. 2B and 9S's bosses find that perpetuating the myth that humanity was still alive helped the androids to fight. A logic virus breaks out among the androids, and the only survivors are 9S and a rogue defunct model, A2. Before 2B dies, she gives everything she has to A2 and entrusts her to protect 9S. 9S believes that A2 murdered 2B and is hellbent on killing her. A2 and 9S square off on a tower that the aliens constructed to destroy the moon. The canon ending sees both A2 and 9S die in the struggle. Each has a pod, a support unit with them, who decides to go against protocol and work to revive 2B, A2, and 9S. While they agree that all the mistakes they made could happen again, they have hope they will change for the better. See, also pretty weird. And it got me thinking, why is this so weird? And the only answer I can come up with is that it must be because it's different from all the other robot fiction out there. So, did a little more research on all the other times people have used robots in media. The word robot can actually be traced back to a Russian play from 1920 called RUR. Rur. So, I guess spoilers for that too? In it, mankind makes robots out of artificial skin, distinguishing them from simple machinery. Much like AI or Nier, they can pass for humans. Was this a budgetary constraint? Most definitely. Initially, they're happy to work for mankind, but soon learn of violence and feel subjugated by man. They lead a rebellion and take over humanity, slaughtering almost every remaining human, besides an engineer they keep to help them procreate, as it were. One of the first uses of robots in film is the 1927 movie Metropolis. Now, it's not so much a story about robots as it is a robot is prominently featured, so I'm not going to go into detail here. But just understand that, just like AI, it is one where a robot is used to replace a loved one. Probably the most prominent robot in fiction is Data from Star Trek Next Generation. And I think that's where a lot of our understanding of robots in media comes from. And when you think of robots in fiction, I think Data is the sort of thing you focus on. A machine that, while human in appearance, doesn't understand humanity, but desperately wants to. Many episodes involve Data learning about or discovering new facets to humanity. And this is the sort of robot that I think is most prominent in fiction. Just in my 6 videos, I have covered this storyline with robots twice. Aigis in Persona 3 and Yuki Nagato in Haruhi Suzumiya. Not just that, but the T-800 in Terminator 2.
I know now why you cry.
Bishop in Aliens.
Bishop should go. Good idea.
Believe me, I'd prefer not to. I may be synthetic, but I'm not stupid.
Vision in the Marvel Comics.
They're doomed.
It's a privilege to be among them.
Probably Chappie, but that would require me to watch Chappie, and that's not gonna happen. But this isn't really what's happening in Nier or in AI. That's not really what David or Gigolo Joe or A2, 2B, 9S are really seeking. For them, humanity is unknowable. David tries he might will never be Monica's son. Gigolo Joe tries he might can never actually understand what makes people happy. He can follow a script, but it isn't real emotion. In-game, 2B and 9S can have a conversation in a shopping mall. They dream about a world at peace, and discuss how weird humans used to act. 9S tells 2B that he wants to visit again with her when it's all over, and buy her a t-shirt. 2B tells him they don't need such things, but that she looks forward to when the peace comes. 2B says this though, knowing she will never fulfill her promise. Again, not to get too in the weeds here, but later in the game you find out that 9S has discovered the truth about humanity multiple times, and every time he discovers it, he has his memory wiped. 2B knows this, and she distances herself from him because of it. So, when she says that she looks forward to that day, she knows it's a promise that will go unfulfilled. Now, just as David meets robots that were made by other robots, the androids in Nier Automata are made by other androids. None of them have actually met a human, except one person there has. Emil, a party member from the original Nier, is a victim of scientific experiments, and is functionally immortal. This burden weighs on him. Unlike David, Emil was conscious for this passage of time. A side quest in the game has Emil as most suicidal, burdened by all this time alive. When you save him, he realizes that this world is why the heroes of his original game worked so hard, and now it's his job to shepherd it. David, on the other hand, has no such ties. No one he loves had a mission for him to pursue. In reality, everything everyone else did was in service of David, so it only makes sense he would take the more selfish route, and bring back Monica and presumably die. Nier Automata expresses the opposite view of this, that everything we do is to support others. As Emil says in the side mission,
Even if it's pointless, you still have to do it! Because this is the world my friend tried to save!
since they're the only ones that knew humans, it's these bonds to humanity that makes them special. While Emil wants humanity to live on in some way, David doesn't want anything to do with them. It's sad, but I think that's what fascinates me about this. Basically every other story is about how robots are human in the end. Except for these ones. It's about the T-800 making a human sacrifice, or Data earning his right to his own life, or Chappie doing... I don't know, seriously, I'm never gonna watch that movie. All those other stories use androids to show our relationship to ourselves. These androids are outsiders that can analyze us and get to know us and learn about humanity. Nier and AI just kind of realized that cuts both ways. If there aren't any humans around, how can they ever really get to know us? Neither of these stories are particularly cheerful, but how can they be? AI ends with David choosing to live in that lie, to die pretending he is human after all, never really confronting that difference. Nier sees A2 and 9S turn their backs on compassion, on sympathy, only to have to rediscover it, sadly at different times. A2 comes to see that maybe this world, even without humanity, even without a future, maybe it's worth living in. The pods both agree that they all deserve a second chance at this, that 2B and A2 were onto something. These two stories cannot end more differently, while still getting to the same heart of the matter. Nier is more cheerful of an ending than AI, even though the androids do all still die. R.I.P. 6-0. You were the best. But in the end, both stories are about the mystery of humanity. We use these androids to analyze ourselves. David allows us to see the ugliest sides to humans, us at our most depraved and most desperate. The androids of Nier allow us to see humanity with an almost reverent fascination. But all of that reverent fascination is without any insight or real interaction. To quote Nier Automata, it's all for the glory of mankind. That is it. I am done talking about Nier forever. Never again am I gonna have to bring up Nier. Done. Ah, crap, dang it.